This is the Mets Postcast, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Mets went into Philadelphia looking to turn the page and find some answers. Instead, it's more questions and more problems as the Mets allow 8 runs in the 7th and 8th innings combined to fall in the opener of this series by a final score of 10-2. Welcome into the Mets Postcast here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I'm your Postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. And I'll just be up front. I'm out of answers. I'm out of trying to figure out what is going wrong with this team because it seems to be something different every single night. And we will start this postcast with what it was tonight because it was the bullpen.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Postcasts where the starting pitching didn't give you length, didn't give you a quality outing. That has been a focus of our conversations after these games. The offense not being able to produce has been a focus of ours over and over and over again during these postcasts. Well, tonight, we got to the one place we hadn't really gotten to over this 6-game losing streak, now 7-game losing streak, because tonight it was the bullpen's turn. Tonight it was the bullpen's turn to get involved in this party, in this just absolute chaotic dumpster fire that the New York Mets have been as of late, because Garrett and Justin Garza combined to allow 8 runs over the course of 2 innings in the 7th and the 8th innings in what was a 2-2 game going into the 7th. In the blink of an eye, turned against the New York Mets, and it was over. It was over in the blink of an eye, and it was a struggle up until that point. The Mets were lucky to even be in this game with the pair of home runs because other than that, offensively, they did nothing tonight. But it was the bullpen's turn tonight. Garrett, who has been a rock-solid, high-leverage reliever for this team, his last 2 outings have left a lot to be desired. Justin Garza, who was a pickup by this team a couple of weeks ago, had been brilliant over his first couple of outings. Tonight, he turned into a little bit of a pumpkin. But now the bullpen can check a box and say they got involved. They were a part of this losing streak now that it is 7 games in a row. And I don't know where we go from here. I can continue to talk about the offense needing to be better. I can continue to talk about the pitching needing to finding some stability and waiting for Sean Manaea to come back and hoping that Frankie Montas can add to this. We can continue to say all of those things. I've been saying them a lot this week, over and over and over again. And at the end of the day, this team is too talented to go through a 7-game losing streak. I know that the players on this squad right now are not performing up to the back of their baseball cards, but they are talented enough. Francisco Lindor is talented enough. Juan Soto is talented enough. Pete Alonso, talented enough. This team has enough talent offensively to score more than 2 runs. They have enough talent offensively to be better than they have been over the last 7 days. And so you know what? If I am Carlos Mendoza, I'm calling Francisco Lindor, I'm calling Pete Alonso, I'm calling Juan Soto, I'm calling the leaders of this team into a meeting here, maybe later tonight, maybe tomorrow, and I'm telling you, I'm shaking things up. This lineup's going to look very different tomorrow. I am trying everything in my power to spark this team, to spark this offense. And I see some pushback to me calling the team talented. Juan Soto is one of the best players in the game. Francisco Lindor is one of the best shortstops in the game. Pete Alonso, one of the best overall power hitters in the game. Brandon Nimmo has credentials that speak for themselves. This team has talent. This is not a bunch of AAA players that are being called up because there's a whole host of injuries. This team has talent. They just need to play better. They need to put it together over a 9-inning game. And right now, it feels like they are pressing too hard, and this is a mental thing right now. Lindor had some at-bats tonight where you could tell it's getting into his head. This team right now is just getting in their own way. Let's talk about what I think is a bright spot in this game. And I'm not saying it's a silver lining. I'm not saying it's something to be positive about. But I am not going to go a whole postcast without talking about Blade Tidwell, who I thought, despite what the box score says, despite him having another outing in which he went 3 2/3, I thought Blade Tidwell was remarkably better than his first start against St. Louis. I thought he was much better than his MLB debut. I thought he had way better command of the fastball. I thought because of that command of the fastball, it allowed him to show off that slider and get more bites on his breaking stuff. And more importantly, and I posted this on my Twitter account when I saw it, he made a change to his mechanics. If you go back and look at the opening, his MLB debut start against the Cardinals, you will know that he had more of an overhead delivery. He would come back over his head and he would slide towards the first base side of the rubber. So if you go back and watch highlights of his start against St. Louis and you compare them to his start tonight, he got rid of that over the head part of his motion and already was kind of set up on that first base side of the rubber. So took out some of those extra maybe mechanics that maybe were limiting his ability to get that fastball command. So that was a change that I noticed, and it certainly served him well. I would have loved to see him get the opportunity to finish that inning. I know that things were kind of falling off the rails there, but he was only at 74 pitches. Fastball still had some life, was still getting it in there at 96. So I would have liked to have seen a chance for him to get out of that inning, get out of that jam. But Carlos Mendoza decided to go to his bullpen, and at least at first, the decision paid off because Castillo and Jose Butto came out and they kept the Mets in this game. And then the Mets were able to hit back-to-back home runs thanks to Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil to get back into this contest. But I thought Tidwell did well. And I think when I compare what I saw from Tidwell tonight in terms of the stuff, in terms of the fastball, in terms of the slider, in terms of the cutter that he showed off tonight, and I compare it to what I've seen recently from Griffin Canning, who we'll see again tomorrow, what I've seen from Paul Blackburn as of late, I don't know if I can justify giving those two gentlemen that I just named another chance through this rotation before I go to Blade Tidwell. I would give Tidwell another chance here. I thought he did well enough tonight to deserve a little bit of a run here to try to show more at the big league level. Again, much better, in my opinion, compared to that first start against St. Louis, and made some mechanical changes that I think certainly paid off for him. We'll talk about an offense that was non-existent other than two swings there in the sixth inning, other stuff to keep an eye on, a weird decision that the Mets made in this game to not challenge a play, the stuff to keep an eye on. We've got a lot to get into here in this one. So we will get to all of it here on the other side. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, and I'm sure we could all use a snack on a night like tonight. Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. It's one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. They've got the no shells variety, the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether you're snacking at your desk, you're on a road trip, or you just need a quick protein boost, they can be your go-to. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. We still have the NBA playoffs going on, a Game 7 in the NBA Finals between the Pacers and the Thunder. Perhaps you want to get involved. Your last chance during the NBA playoffs for those highlight-worthy performances, the major momentum shifts, the can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Again, Game 7 this weekend. Maybe you got a read on who's heating up. How about you back it up with a same-game parlay? New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Back here on the Mets Postcast, the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. Chris Schubert with you, recapping yet another Mets loss, a 10-2 loss, their 7th loss in a row, barreling down a potential 3rd straight series sweep. Can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth, but it was in large part because of an offense that continues to be non-existent. I know they had the 2 home runs by Alonso and McNeil going back-to-back to tie the game in the 6th. But other than that, we could talk about the first inning where they loaded the bases, and shame on me for convincing myself there in the first inning that they were going to get to Wheeler and they were going to set the tone early. They were going to hand Blade Tidwell a lead, and it was going to be a good start for this team, something that I thought they desperately needed in this game. All of the noise surrounding them, 6 losses in a row. Everybody's under the microscope right now. The best thing you could do on the road with a young starter on the mound, go out there, get him an early lead, give him an opportunity to work from ahead, It allows him to attack these Phillies hitters a little bit more. And it was right there. Bases loaded, 1 out, an opportunity to put up some runs against Zach Wheeler early. Nothing. Unable to do it. And then it seemed like all the Mets needed to do was to get into a time machine, throw it back to the 2024 NLDS, because the moment Zach Wheeler comes out of the game, just like in that start in the NLDS, the Mets get to Taijuan Walker and the Phillies bullpen. They hit the back-to-back home runs, and then the game is tied at 2. But you know what the Mets did after that? You know what the Mets did after tying the game in the 6th inning, after the back-to-back home runs by Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil? 2 big swings, energy back in the game. It's 2-2. Your bullpen's done a great job. They've kept you in this game. Your offense showing a little sign of life. You're excited. You're ready to go. Okay, here's our chance. We're in this game now. You know what they did after that? They went 1-2-3 in the 7th. They went 1-2-3 in the 8th. And they went 1-2-3 in the 9th. After getting back-to-back home runs to get yourself back into the game, they went 1-2-3 in the following 3 innings. This team right now isn't consistent enough. They're just all over the place. I didn't even look. I don't even know. You want to guess what the numbers are with runners in scoring position? You want to guess what the left on base numbers are? I've got them up here now. I'll tell you. 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. 7 men left on base. So I don't know how angry I can even be tonight about them not hitting with runners in scoring position, because they only had 2 opportunities to do so. So it's just, it's seemingly every single day right now, every single game, something else is happening for this team. Something new. Tonight it was the bullpen. It was the offense once again. They need some good luck to turn their way. They need to just kind of create their own luck and make something happen. And I'll go back to a suggestion I made earlier in the show. I think it's time for a lineup change. And I'm very against making some drastic changes like that. But boy, I mean, you struck out 10 times tonight. You didn't get a hit after the 6th inning, after you tied the game, after you're back in it, right? 6th inning, you score 2 runs. You get the shutdown 6th. You don't allow Philly to score. You're in the game. You don't do anything in the top of the 7th. This team just right now can't get out of their own way. And Michael says, hopefully we'll look back on this time as a blip after winning the whole thing. Listen, I think it's fair to wonder if at the end of the season, we'll look back at this and say, hey, remember when we were in the weeds talking about this team losing 7 games in a row? I wish that as well, Michael. I hope that we get to that place, but it's hard to see the forest through the trees. Again, I still think this team is going to sooner rather than later turn things around, but it's hard to see when that's happening because no loss is a good loss at any point in the season. But I could come around to the idea of this postcast taking on a different tone if the Mets were in a back-and-forth affair after they tied it up in the 6th, a couple of back-and-forth innings, and they lose the game 4-3, or they lose the game 5-4, and they're in it late, and they just don't have a break or two go their way. I can then say, okay, they're in it. They've got a chance. They fought to the last out. I can't say that about tonight's game. I can't say that about a team that allowed 6 runs in the 7th, 2 runs in the 8th, and didn't get a hit after the 6th inning. I can't talk about a team that struck out 10 times tonight and try to sugarcoat that. We just can't do it. Just can't. And so we'll see ultimately what this team does tomorrow with Griffin Canning on the mound. The other stuff to keep an eye on, I mean, interesting that Carlos Mendoza and the Mets did not challenge that play at first base where I thought it was clear that Kemp's foot was off the bag on, I believe it was Nimmo who hit that ground ball to Turner that he threw. I mean, that felt like a huge turning point in the game at that point to get Soto up in that at bat. That felt a little odd to me that they didn't challenge that when it was clear as day on every angle that the broadcast showed that he was off the base, that his foot was up in the air and away from the base when he actually made contact with the baseball. I was surprised by that. Surprised by the decision to take Tidwell out when he did. Again, I thought Tidwell was better tonight. Hopefully he gets another chance to he gets another chance in this rotation. I think he's earned it. I think he deserves it. I think his stuff plays a lot better than Blackburn or Canning does. But stuff to keep an eye on. Let's see if there's a lineup change. Let's see if this team tries to shake stuff up because I think they desperately need it. I don't know if a team meeting will do anything. I don't know if that will turn things around. I think this team just needs to shake things up and kind of wake these players up to say, hey, your season's right here in front of you. You're just allowing everybody to come back into this. You're allowing the Phillies to take over the NL East and just kind of run away with it with the way that you're playing right now. And so let's see. This is a really nice test for the young manager of the New York Mets in his second season. It wasn't great to start the year, but he had a great finish to the season. They made a nice playoff run, so everybody's happy with the job that he did. This is really the first major bit of adversity that he has faced as the manager. This is way more than the 0-5 start and rock bottom. I think with a team with this much expectations on it, with the money that they spent this offseason, this is a lot of pressure on the manager. So I'm very, very interested. I won't say excited, interested to see how he chooses to handle things going forward. Other stuff to keep an eye on, Reed Garrett, all of a sudden just not being a good reliever over his last couple of outings. Is that a product of being overworked? Is that a product of maybe the book being out on him, team starting to figure him out a little bit? I'm not sure. But over the course of the season, bullpens kind of morph and they go through these phases. Feels like we're in one of those phases right now. And at the end of the day, the Mets, as much as I can praise Blake Tidwell, he only gave him 3 2/3 tonight. So it was another night in which the starting pitching didn't give the Mets what they needed. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I laugh and I chuckle at it because that's the only really thing that you can do at this point is just laugh and wonder. They're going to win at some point, right? They're going to snap out of this at some point, right? I think that's just the only thing that we can all do. As I mentioned, always, we'll be here after each and every game the rest of the way. We'll be here to break it all down. We'll be here for both games the rest of this series. Hopefully, we have a win to talk about in the near future. I mean, this is 7 straight postcasts talking about a loss. I'm hoping that it's not made 8 tomorrow, but it's Griffin Canning on the mound for the Mets as they will try to snap this 7-game losing streak. They will try to put themselves potentially in a position to, dare I say, win a series by winning tomorrow because you got David Peterson going on Sunday. But this feels like a real turning point. This feels like a chance for the New York Mets to shake stuff up and to try to wake this team up. And so we'll see if Carlos Mendoza pushes that button. I think you can only maybe push that button once over the course of a season. You can't go to that button too many times. He kind of did a little bit earlier when he moved Soto down in the lineup, but let's see if there's a shakeup in the cards tomorrow with who's playing, where they're slotted in the lineup. I would take a good hard look if I was Carlos Mendoza at shaking things up because we'll let Ricardo have the final words here. The bats are cold, plain and simple, and I do think that is a fair way to kind of sum things up. Right now, their offense is not clicking. They need it to click. And I wonder if after 7 losses in a row and their offense not looking good over a week plus now, if there is a button that can be pressed here by the manager. That's going to do it for us here on the Mets Postcast. If you are new, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so that you are notified when we go live after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. If you're listening to us over in the podcast feed, come on out and join us. I know these games have been tough. I know these games have been ugly, but we try to have some fun. We try to have a good time, and we try to break down these games and be fair and objective and share my opinion on what we are watching all together each and every night when it comes to this baseball team. So stay strong, Mets fans. They'll get through this. There'll be a win in our near future to celebrate, and we'll be right here in order to do so. We will be celebrating together sometime in the near future, and hopefully that can be tomorrow. Have a good one, Mets fans.